While alone at night, Antonia Salzano, the sad mother of Carlo Acutis, had a series of intense dreams. These were not inventions, but true messages from God that began to come to her after the sad death of her son. Together, these revelations and his grief brought him comfort and a surprisingly deep understanding of how his son had affected his spiritual life. During this difficult period, Pope Francis made a great announcement on a beautiful Thursday morning in May 2024. He wanted to canonize him. This decision was approved by Christians the world over. Antonia, for her part, was also receiving private messages from heaven at the same time. Antonia dreamt she was in a quiet church next to Carlo's favorite saint, Saint Francis of Assisi. There was a calm in the air that was broken only by the significance of the vision she had had. At the top of the altar, a large statue of Carlo emitted a divine glow that showed the importance of his role in the church. With a solemn gesture, Saint Francis seems to confirm this destiny. Click on the like button and subscribe to our channel if you think our exploration is useful. That way, you'll receive more stories like this one. With your help, we can bring these powerful messages to more people. At first, Antonia thought the vision meant he was destined to become a priest, a profession he'd thought about all his life. But as she talked about her dreams, they began to hint at a greater spiritual mission. As the nightly visions progressed, each one added to what the person already knew, creating a more complex spiritual meaning. One night, while Antonia was watching over a sick Carlo, she had a frightening realization while half asleep. There was silence until a clear voice said, "He's about to die." At first, Alex thought it was a nightmare brought on by her fears, but as events in her life confirmed this warning, she moved from disbelief to reluctant acceptance of God's will. In the wake of these events, Antonia felt compelled to share her story, which highlights the mysterious ways in which God manifests himself in moments of great sorrow. Her story, which bears witness to both Carlo's fortitude and her own spiritual journey, is a beacon of hope and faith that inspires others to find comfort when they feel down. Each vision, full of symbolic images and words, gradually showed that Carlo's influence would extend beyond his life on earth and touch believers the world over. A few days after these frightening dreams, on October 7th, Carlo was rushed to the Mangiagali clinic in Monza because of his very serious symptoms. The diagnosis was clear. He had metric promyelocytic leukemia, a type of cancer that never goes away and is known to produce large numbers of cancer cells very quickly. Antonia was distraught when she heard the bad news, but she faced the situation with astonishing calm and faith. Carlo spoke to his mother with the peace that came from his strong spiritual convictions. "The Lord has given me a reminder," he declared. "I give the Lord, the Pope, and the whole Church all the pain I'm going to endure. There are people who suffer far more than I do." His fate and his will to die were based on the idea that God had fully blessed his life. Those around him felt calm and peaceful as he spoke. "I'm happy to die because I've lived my life without wasting a minute on things that don't please God," he said. Things were getting closer to what was to come. Carlo died on October 12th, but his faith lived on in the hearts of those who knew him. Many people were moved by his last words and his serene acceptance of his fate, which shows how spiritually mature and strong he was. Antonia's frightening dream of what was to come came true like a true prophecy. When Saint Francis of Assisi appeared in her dream, he told her not only that she would die too soon, but also that she would become a saint and have a special place with God. Carlo tried to live like Saint Francis, finding peace and tranquility in the places he loved. The people who attended these retreats to be alone showed that they wanted to live a simple, dedicated life, like the saint. His journey, made up of pain and deep faith, showed a young man who was ready to follow his divine vocation and make a lasting difference in the world. As the dreams suggest, his premature death and rapid ascent to sainthood may have been planned by St. Francis to show the peace he had found in his faith and devotion. People who wish to live a Christian life like his are still influenced and inspired by his peace of mind and way of life. In order to resemble the saint, Carlo often went to places sacred to St. Francis to isolate himself and find spiritual clarity. In keeping with the life of St. Francis, these retreats showed that he sought peace within himself and the desire to help others. St. Francis's prophecy didn't just tell them what was going to happen, it also confirmed the strong spiritual bond between them, which has grown stronger over the years thanks to shared missions and values. On October 10, 2000, Carlo was beatified in Assisi, a city that was very important to him spiritually. It was a great step towards sainthood. His mother had had prophetic visions, which came true at this event. It was also a celebration of his holy, if short, life, which had touched and inspired people all over the world. Are you interested in this story? Thank you for your support. If Carlo's hard work has moved you, please like the video, subscribe, and use the super thank you button below. That way, we can continue to tell you and others these touching stories. October 12th, the date on which Carlo will be officially declared a saint, is drawing ever closer, and believers are increasingly enthusiastic. In an interview, Antonia Salzano shared her thoughts on her son's life and legacy. The way he died, became ill, and lived for a short time was seen as part of God's plan to make Carlo a role model for the young people of the time. Her words showed that she had a strong faith and a deep understanding of the spiritual significance of her son's life. They reinforced the conviction that Carlo's journey was guided by God from beginning to end. As we learn more about Carlo Acutis and his mother Antonia, we discover profound biblical truths that echo the themes of hope and goodness we see in Carlo's life. Antonia saw not only a divine plan in her son's journey, but also a call to service that was consistent with the ideas found in the Bible. After Carlo's death, Antonia found comfort in dreams, in which Carlo, often accompanied by saints, gave her messages of hope and told her what would happen in the future. Certain Bible verses, such as 1 Corinthians 13:13, which says that faith, hope, and charity endure, but charity is the greatest of all, really echoed these messages. This verse says it all. Carlo's life was a picture of faith, hope, and kindness. Carlo's attention to the poor and outcast was similar to what Jesus says in Luke 14:13, "Invite the poor, the sick, the lame, and the blind to feasts, for such acts of kindness are blessed and rewarded in the kingdom of heaven." This corresponds to Carlo's habit of visiting places linked to St. Francis to pray, seek peace, and reaffirm his promise to live the gospel through acts of love and service. Antonia also dreamed of having twins, which later came true. This corresponds to the biblical vision of hope, which is a strong trust in God's promises. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in the faith, so that you may abound in hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Praise Romans 15:13. This verse shows how Antonia's hope kept her going through good times and bad times. The miracles and their impact on the faithful deeply confirmed Carlo's sanctification. This brings to mind James 2:15-16, which tells the faithful to show their faith by deeds, emphasizing that faith without works is dead. Carlo's life is a powerful example of this message, for not only did he believe Christ's teachings, but he also lived them, which had an effect on those around him, even after his death. These biblical parallels add to Carlo's story and make it more inspiring. They remind us that we can become saints by performing daily acts of love and service to others. His life and legacy show how faith can make a difference through love. They embodied the Bible's call to live a life of true devotion and charity. Carlo Acutis' life showed how faith can change things because he loved God and helped people in need. His beatification and forthcoming canonization not only honor his holy life, but also encourage Christians to live a life of love and service like his. Antonia Salzano found great comfort and guidance in her son's prophetic dreams and visions, which showed her that her short but important life had a divine purpose. Antonia and many others were guided in their faith journey by these spiritual experiences, which confirmed God's holiness and plan. By putting her faith into action, Carlo displayed a number of biblical virtues that are illustrated in the verses that tell Christians to put their faith into action. Bear one another's burdens, says Galatians 6:2, and so fulfill the law of Christ. This sounds like what Christ did, helping those in need and bearing their burdens. What's more, the way he lives his life is in line with the advice in Micah 6:8. He has shown you what is good for you. He has shown you what is good, mortal. What does the Lord want you to do? You do what is right, that you love mercy and walk humbly with your God. In just a few words, this verse says it all about what he did and how he served and loved others. If this story has touched you, please like, subscribe, and remember to give a super thank you to show your support. Your dedication is very important in spreading their message of hope and kindness to everyone around the world. The Carlo Acutis Foundation continues this work by spreading messages of love, faith, and service. Those touched by his life see it as a beacon, telling them to live their faith in an active and caring way. 1 John 3:18 tells us, "Dear children, let us not love in word or deed, but in truth and deed," he declared. It's a principle he lived by, and one on which the foundation continues to work. As Carlo's canonization approaches, his story is more important than ever. It touches many people and makes them reflect on what faith, love, and service really mean in their own lives. He set a good example by showing that anyone can be a saint, and that all acts of kindness and service add up to something greater. Love one another, says Romans 12:10. Honor one another before yourselves, which fits Carlo's lifestyle of putting others' needs before his own and serving them with love. Carlo's imminent canonization as a saint shows us just how impactful a life of faith, hope, and kindness can be. Whenever we feel alone, his story reminds us to seek God and show our faith through acts of love and service. Let's try to be true examples of God's love in the world. We ask that their example and prayers encourage us to be more dedicated and stronger in our sacred ways.